Hey guys, Script over here with another video, and I wanted to talk today because I was reminded of this tweet. And it says, "Did you know the Sith Eternal Fleet, seen in The Rise of Skywalker, was created by Sith cultists on Exegol, who indoctrinated Exegol's population with Sith values and raised and trained their children to become officers, mechanics, and soldiers for the Final Order." And then Elijah Wood, of course, with the classic, if you haven't seen this before, "No, how could we have known?" Exactly, we couldn't have known. The movie doesn't give us any indication of anything. And so I think a lot of this stuff that it talks about on, say, Wikipedia or whatever about Exegol is probably more likely added after the fact. Like, I don't think they had a plan for this. I think they just made the movie, and then we'll just figure it out later. That's what it seems like to me. But there's a lot to unpack here, even just with that, because that in and of itself feels super weird. So, it was located in the Unknown Regions, according to legend, was the hidden redoubt world of the Sith. Redoubt? Or rebuilt? It was the throne world of Darth Sidious, publicly known as Emperor Palpatine, and the Sith Eternal by 35 ABY. It's also the birthplace of Snoke. Remember the test tubes with the Snokes in them? The big test tubes? Oh man, what were they thinking? Whom Sidious created to rule the First Order while he concealed himself in the shadows. Exegol was used to hide the Final Order, which was a fleet amassed by the Sith Eternal, from where they planned to deploy their Star Destroyers and establish a new Sith Empire for Darth Sidious. Exegol was the site of a battle during the war between the First Order and the Resistance. Okay, why would Palpatine do that? Why would he, if he's trying to be in the shadows, okay, fair enough, why even, like, what was the purpose of the First Order? Like, if the plan was eventually we're just going to sneak attack all these planets with these planet-destroying Star Destroyers, why did you even do anything with the First Order? Why even waste those resources? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? So you knew ultimately that you didn't need Snoke's fleet or any of that stuff, because you had this 10,000 ship, whatever it is, Final Order fleet. So what was the purpose of the First Order? What was it meant to accomplish? The only thing I can think of is that it was meant to accomplish was destroying the Hosnian system with that absolutely atrocious Starkiller base, which also makes no sense. But after that happens in episode 7. So after that, like, what are you waiting for at that point? There was only a year between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. There was no time between Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So what did you need the year for? What did you need that other year for if you had all these ships? And so the only thing that was accomplished, essentially, was your Supreme Leader Snoke, test tube baby guy, dies. And then his underling takes over. His apprentice takes over. And then all of a sudden, his apprentice shows up at Exegol. And now you're ready to go? Why did you need all that? What did you need him for? In fact, what did you even need Starkiller Base for if all of these Star Destroyers had planet-killing technology on them? Why did you even need Starkiller Base for? That seems like an awful waste of resources, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem dumb to you? And let's not forget, this was also J.J. Abrams, and so was The Force Awakens. It's like, I'm just trying to understand what the point was of the whole thing. Like, this indicts, this whole story of Exegol indicts the sequel trilogy on the whole even further than it already was. It doesn't make any sense for him to be sitting on Exegol a year after Starkiller Base is destroyed and the New Republic government system is destroyed. It makes absolutely no sense for you to wait a year, and then you just happened to decide now's the time when Kylo Ren shows up at Exegol. Why did you need any of this? The other thing that this points to as well, and I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, he was too weak or whatever. If you watch The Rise of Skywalker, he literally lifts the Star Destroyers out of the crust of the planet before he takes the power from Rey and Ben, the dyad power. So he's supposedly this decrepit old man. He's being kept alive by machinery. He, for some reason, needs their dyad power to do stuff, but meanwhile, he literally just lifted 10,000 ships using the Force out of the crust of a planet, not even water or anything, out of ground. And then he goes and takes their dyad power while he's still supposedly too weak to do anything. How did he take it then? If he's too weak, if he needs their power to just sort of exist. So what? So he just couldn't shoot lightning? But he could lift 10,000 Star Destroyers out of the crust of the planet? Again, what were you waiting for? Because you had the power to do that. You could have sat on your throne and had your guys go and do whatever they needed to do to take over the galaxy. You didn't even need to be there. And that's another thing we're going to talk about is his Sith people. This whole thing is so bizarre, okay? So before the Sith came to Exegol, the planet was green and fertile, capable of supporting many forms of animal and plant life. Since its despoiling by the Sith, Exegol was a dark, barren, and rocky planet with desert flats. Its dry conditions combined with the rubbing of dust particles in its atmosphere created enormous static discharges that appeared as lightning strikes from the planet, which made the atmosphere too dangerous to deploy deflector shields. The dead and desolate world was covered with enormous fissures that reached deep into its crust. These were excavated by Sith loyalists who were attempting to reach a transportative vergence they believed that lied beneath the surface. So, I mean, in the Star Wars world, that would be, yeah, like a vergence in the Force. Okay. Transportative, I guess, means you can use it to travel. The darkness of Exegol was so extreme that the astromech droid F7FNG was needed to be optimized to work in its environment. Exegol's nearby space was littered with the remains of megafauna, resulting in the formation of a cloud of red gas and stardust forming around the world, which posed a navigation barrier known as the Red Honeycomb Zone. Exegol is one of the oldest Sith bastions and one of their throne worlds. Under the Sith Citadel. Okay, so if there are these thousands and thousands of Sith loyalists, I remember in the movie they're like in a huge amphitheater. It looks like there's tens of thousands of them. Where were they before that? Like, before they went to Exegol, where were they? Due to its remote location and inherent veil of secrecy, the Sith Eternal Cult chose Exegol as its base, a planet unknown to even the most studious of galactic historians, some of whom knew about Moraband and other Sith worlds. Is that where they came from then? And there were people there when they got there. Here's the big underground shipyard thing, whatever. After Sidious's first defeat during the Battle of Endor, or first death, the Sith loyalists continued to construct the Final Order, with each Star Destroyer armed with an axial super laser capable of destroying entire planets. Yeah, so like, what was the point of the First Order? The Sith fleet would spearhead the Sith reconquest of the galaxy. Ochi, meanwhile, sought the path to Exegol to heal his eyes. As the threat of their return to the galaxy loomed, the Resistance mustered its forces and fought a desperate battle against the Sith Eternal. Ultimately, with the help of Citizen's fleet, the Resistance destroyed the Sith forces and killed Darth Sidious. In the months after the battle, an excavation team under historian Beaumont Kin was at work uncovering the secrets of the Sith Citadel. Built on Exegol in ancient times, the Citadel was one of the earliest bastions of the Sith. It also says here that the Sith Eternal worshipped Palpatine and the Sith. So they weren't Sith themselves. They weren't Force users. They just worshipped Palpatine. And there's thousands of them. These individuals were organized and loyal to the Sith, responsible for maintaining Exegol as a hidden base and supporting the construction of the Final Order's massive fleet. Okay, well, it wasn't just the Sith Eternal, like those guys in the robes and stuff. There was also full crews manning all of these ships. You're talking about millions of people. And somehow, the location never got out and no one ever said anything. What happened to the people that were there? Construction of the Final Order's fleet required efforts of millions of beings working underground and planet-wide to build and maintain the ships. The thousands of Sith troopers involved in the Final Order's fleet were bred on Exegol, implying a large workforce. Yeah, there was 1,080 Star Destroyers, and each one had a crew of roughly 42 million people. And that doesn't include all those dudes that were in the amphitheater. The Sith Eternal or whatever, cultists. So not only did Anakin not balance the Force, these guys were here this entire time. These Sith guys were here this entire time. It's ancient. And and what was the plan? So like you're fighting against the rebels with your Death Stars. Why didn't you just bust out your ships and go kill everybody? Like, this is the thing I don't understand. I don't understand what he was waiting for. That's the thing that makes absolutely no sense. Because if he had attacked before all the Resistance people got there and Rey and everybody got there, he could have had the galaxy decades ago. Surely some of them would have been completed, right? In the 30 years from Endor to Rise of Skywalker, you would think. Surely some would be, and they're planet-destroying ships, so it's not like you need a lot of them. But no, you waited until you were literally being attacked. That doesn't make any sense. He could have done it at any time. He could have done it a day earlier. And had no issues whatsoever. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So really, Palpatine, it was done that he was resurrected, but Palpatine was an absolute machine when it came to cunning and decision-making and manipulation, and yet he makes this type of totally nonsensical decision-making, whether it's revealing the First Order, which brings about the rebellion, the new rebellion, right? What a waste of time. What were you doing? You could have completely taken everybody by surprise. And you still could have killed all their capital. You still could have, like, why would you reveal yourself if you want to stay hidden? And then it created a resistance when you could have just completely just done it out of nowhere and just won in a day. Like, what? And then they all had to move the same until they got out of the atmosphere. So you would know, if you're Palpatine, that there was a possibility that the Resistance could stop you. Everything was in the stupid cell phone tower, right? All of them had to move based on what the cell phone tower told them to do. Then Pride moved the signal from the cell phone tower to his ship, but they still all had to follow his ship. So if you had lifted those out of there and had them get through the atmosphere at any other point other than when you were being attacked, you would have the whole galaxy now. So you made Palpatine dumb, and he's like the most calculated villain. He's awesome, and you made him an idiot. The whole concept of Exegol is stupid. What was the point? So I'm gonna make a Snoke clone and send him in and make him fight people, and we're gonna reveal ourselves so that there's a conflict. And so they're trying to stop us rather than us just taking over immediately. There's nothing they can do about it. Like, Exegol's the dumbest thing ever, dude. It's so dumb. And it's just way too many people. It's way too many people. It doesn't make any sense. You could argue, oh, they're cloning. That's just, there's 40 plus million people. That's way too many people to be able to keep this place a secret for that length of time. Since ancient times. And then you're leaving wayfinders lying around for people to find. It doesn't make any sense. Palpatine's loyalists brought in engineers, shipwrights, and slave labor. Brought in? Like, from where? Somebody let me know if you have any idea in the comment section. If you've actually taken the time to, like, read whatever books that this is in. Like, whether it's the Rise of Skywalker book or whatever. Brought in from where? Like, you'd have to keep the planet a secret. So all these people going in and out wouldn't make any sense. Star Destroyers were manned by trained officers, technicians, and soldiers, including the elite Sith troopers. Where did all these people come from? How did all these people survive on Exegol? If the Sith wrecked it, right? There's no farming. There's no way to make food. There's no way to be self-sustainable because they've ruined it. That would mean they would have to be having ships going in and out with supplies. You can't get everything you need to keep 40, 50 million people alive for thousands of years building ships, or however long it was. I guess Palpatine didn't exist, in the ancient time, but you would have had, how are these people surviving? It's basically a dead planet. It's a desert planet that has nothing on it. This doesn't make sense. This 42 plus million people. Somebody had to be coming and going for this to work. And if people are coming and going, at some point, someone's going to notice. Or at some point, one of the 50 million people are going to be like, man, living on Exegol sucks. I'm going to sneak away when we go to get the supplies from whatever. Wherever they're going to get food and water and supplies, that planet's going to know about it. Someone there is going to know about it. So this makes no sense. There's no possible way that this would ever work. Exegol was the site of Palpatine's clandestine cloning and genetic experiments. These included the creation of Snoke as a proxy ruler and other frail specimens seen in vats. No, but he was pointless because, again, you could have just left the planet with all your ships and just caught everybody by surprise. Palpatine's son, a non-force sensitive son of Palpatine, lived on Exegol before escaping, leaving behind his daughter Rey. Okay, if he escaped, then it would mean that he had to take a ship, which would mean he would have had to know where to go to get to where he was going. He ended up, on Jakku? So he would have every ship has a nav system in it, which means the nav system would have recorded where he came from and where he went. So he would know how to get back to Exegol. And he just didn't tell anybody. And even if he couldn't get back there, he didn't think to tell somebody that it existed. What? He didn't think, hey man, maybe I should make a phone call, talk to the Chancellor, or talk to somebody about this, because I've seen what they're doing down there and there's millions of people. And he didn't say anything. None of the people coming and going said anything. The amount of holes in this is like a piece of Swiss cheese. Okay, so there was the Rakata species. The Rakata later went extinct on the planet. Over millennia, Exegol was shaped by different Sith groups. Oh, the ancient Force-sensitive Rakata species. Okay, so they were Darksiders. They all died of a plague that weakened their connection to the Force, leading to a decline in their civilization and leaving a legacy of conquered worlds and advanced technology that influenced the future of the galaxy. So they were already Darksiders, and then they became part of the Sith Eternal, I guess, and then they went extinct from a plague? After a defeat by the Jedi and the Republic, a group of pure-blood Sith retreated to Exegol, establishing it as a hidden fortress. Their rituals of Darkseid activities transformed the planet into a barren wasteland seen in The Rise of Skywalker. Which, again, if there's that many people living there, they would have to be bringing supplies. After Palpatine's apparent death, the Sith Eternal secretly continued his work on Exegol for decades, building the Final Order fleet and preparing for his return. Okay, but didn't Palpatine, have clone bodies? Isn't that what they say he did? His spirit went into another clone body? So the clone bodies would have been there. And that's a really dumb idea too, by the way. As if his spirit traveled, 50 million light years to Exegol. But anyways, those guys would have known he was there. My brain hurts, guys. This is awful. So for 30 years, they were preparing for his return. Well, wasn't he already there? Wasn't he in another body hanging on that thing? When did that happen? The population on Exegol worked on genetic engineering and cloning to create a new empire under his rule. The Sith Eternal cult and most of the population of Exegol were killed when the Sith Citadel collapsed. at the end of the Battle of Exegol. And the Citadel collapsed because of his force lightning. But it kind of in the scene alludes to the fact that just him dying kind of blew everything up. But he wasn't there for a long, long time before he was there. So why would that happen? It just, none of it makes any sense. My brain hurts. Dude, Exegol's the dumbest thing ever. It's the dumbest thing ever. I can't believe how stupid Exegol is. I can't, like, these movies just get worse and worse and worse the more you think about them. You know how everyone kept saying how they were gonna end up being, like, viewed positively, like the prequels kind of are now? I would say they're kind of viewed, I'd say on average most people just say they're okay, but they were pretty hated initially, especially the first one and the second one. But no, these movies are not. As time goes by, they're worse and worse and worse. And the more they try and fix the problems with them, the dumber it gets and the less sense it makes. This is a prime example. This is so dumb and makes no sense. And there's no way that this planet could just be hidden and nobody would know about it. And Palpatine's son wouldn't tell somebody about it. And all these people could live there and survive there. It's a non-survivable death planet. There's no one's living there without having some sort of outside influence. It's impossible. Next they're going to say, oh, everyone was being kept alive by the dark side. You still have to eat. Your body still needs nutrients. Like, Palpatine's still hooked up to a whole big harness thing that's probably keeping him alive, right? Like, that's... You can't just exist. And if that's what they end up saying, it would be so stupid. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, also helps the channel. Feel free to check anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.